You think Hollywood came up with the zombie apocalypse? Please. Writer's Room, 2010? Try a random rainforest floor 3 million years ago. Hollywood stole the whole vibe from a fungus that doesn't even have a brain. Seriously, look at us. We spend billions of dollars making movies about rage viruses, mutated rabies, and radioactive fallout. We build entire fictional worlds around the idea of a catastrophic societal collapse where the infected turn into mindless, biting monsters. But while we're busy eating popcorn and watching actors covered in corn syrup and fake blood stumble around a green screen, a real multi-million-year-old horror movie is playing out beneath the leaf litter of the world's tropical rainforests. Meet Cordyceps unilateralis. Because that's an absolute nightmare to pronounce, we're just going to call it the zombie ant fungus, because life is too short and biological taxonomy loves to flex. This microscopic terror doesn't just kill its host. That's amateur hour. That's what standard, boring bacteria do. No, this fungus takes over the steering wheel of the ant's entire body, forces it to commit a highly specific, mathematically precise act of synchronized suicide, and then grows a literal horror movie spike right out of its head. And the absolute worst part of this entire cosmic joke? The ant is wide awake. It is trapped inside its own twitching, hijacked body while the fungus calls all the shots. Your brain is firing distress signals, your eyes are watching the scenery change, but your legs belong to the mushroom now. Let's talk about nature's ultimate control freak. The infection starts silently. There's no dramatic jump scare, no ominous cello music playing in the background, and definitely no warning sirens. A carpenter ant is just going about its day, doing standard ant things, carrying twigs, looking for sugar, gossiping with the colony, whatever. Meanwhile, a single microscopic fungal spore is drifting through the humid rainforest air like a piece of dust. It lands softly on the ant's back. Now, if this were a human, our immune system would probably engulf it, or we'd just wash it off in the shower. But the ant's exoskeleton is supposed to be an impenetrable suit of armor. Key word, supposed to be. The zombie ant fungus doesn't care about armor. The moment the spore makes contact, it secretes a specialized chemical cocktail, a highly toxic blend of enzymes, specifically engineered to burn a hole right through that tough, chitinous shell. It's like a terrible roommate who doesn't just move in without asking. They dissolve your front door with acid, walk into your living room, and immediately claim the couch. Once inside, the fungus doesn't immediately kill the ant. If it killed the ant right away, the game would be over. Instead, it starts to multiply. It floats through the ant's circulatory system, eating non-essential tissues, snacking on fat reserves, but carefully keeping the vital organs intact. It needs its Uber ride fully functional, after all. You can't drive a stolen car if you explode the engine on day one. But here is where scientists' brains collectively melted when they put this under a microscope. The fungus doesn't actually touch the ant's brain. For decades, we assumed the fungus must invade the gray matter, secreting chemicals into the brain to drive the ant crazy. Nope. The fungus leaves the brain completely untouched and intact. Instead, it grows a massive, interconnected physical network of fungal cells that wrap entirely around the ant's muscle fibers. Think about how terrifying that actually is. The fungus physically cuts off the brain's communication to the limbs and replaces it with its own network. It's cellular hot wiring. Why rewrite the GPS when you can just hijack the steering column? The ant's brain is actively screaming, "Go home, we have a shift at the nest." But its legs are singing, "Under the sea," while marching directly into traffic. It is a passenger in its own skin. Around day 9 of the infection, the puppet master decides it's time to enter phase 2, the death march. Up until this point, the infected ant has been acting somewhat normal, maybe staggering a little bit like it had one too many fermented berries at happy hour. But suddenly, a switch flips. The fungus commands the ant to leave the safety of its high canopy colony. For a carpenter ant, leaving the colony and walking down to the forest floor is a death sentence. There are predators, it's cold, and it's dangerous. But the ant has no choice. It staggers down the tree trunk, completely intoxicated by fungal mind control. But it isn't a random wander. The fungus is looking for a very specific set of environmental parameters. It forces the ant to find a plant stem or the underside of a leaf that is exactly 10 inches, 25 centimeters off the forest floor. Not 9 inches, not 11 inches, 10. Why? Because 10 inches off the ground provides the absolute perfect microclimate, the precise zone of humidity and temperature, usually around 94% humidity and a cool, stable temperature for fungal growth. It's like a demonic real estate agent who is incredibly picky about the climate control and won't sign the lease unless the atmospheric pressure is just right. Then comes the grand finale, and honestly, it reads like a pagan ritual. At precisely noon, because nature apparently loves a dramatic schedule and the sun is at its peak, the fungus commands the ant to crawl onto the underside of that leaf. It aligns the ant's body so it is facing northwest. Then, the fungus floods the ant's jaw muscles with a chemical blast, forcing it to bite down on the main vein of the leaf with supernatural, bone-crushing strength. The moment the jaws clamp shut, the fungus deliberately causes the ant's jaw muscles to atrophy, completely wasting away. The proteins holding the muscles together dissolve. The ant's mandibles are now permanently locked into the leaf. It cannot let go, even if it wanted to. Its final act of physical movement is a permanent, terminal bite. The trap is sprung, the anchor is dropped, and the ant's purpose as a vehicle is officially over. The fungus finally lets the ant die. The ant is dead, but the fungus is just getting warmed up. Now that it doesn't need to keep the host alive to walk around, it can stop playing nice. It completely digests the ant's internal organs, turning what used to be a living, breathing insect into a buffet of pure energy. It solidifies the ant's internal cavities, essentially mummifying it from the inside out to ensure the corpse doesn't rot or get knocked off the leaf by a heavy rainstorm. Once the foundation is secure, the structural engineering begins. Slowly, over the next few weeks, a pale, creepy, white and brown stalk begins to push its way out of the back of the dead ant's neck. It grows upward, stretching toward the forest floor like a sickening alien antenna. Over the next few weeks, this stalk matures, growing a bulbous, spherical spore pod at the very tip. And now, the architectural genius of that 10-inch height becomes brutally obvious. Because the ant was forced to die directly above the colony's natural foraging trails, the spore pod is perfectly positioned. When the pod reaches maturity, it bursts, raining down a microscopic, invisible kill zone of fresh, infectious spores directly onto the heavy traffic zones below. Any ant walking underneath to find food is instantly showered in the invisible dust of death. It is the ultimate evolutionary trap, specifically designed to infect the dead ant's former best friends and family members. Talk about a toxic workplace culture. If a colony realizes an ant is infected early on, they will actually carry their sick comrade far away from the nest and dump them in a quarantine zone just to prevent this exact scenario. They know the stakes. So, I know exactly what you're thinking as you sit there watching this. Suddenly feeling a little itchy. Can it infect humans? It's a valid question. We've all played the video games. We've watched the prestige television shows where a mutation allows a fungus to switch hosts from insects to humans, turning global civilization into a baseline nightmare of fungal clickers and overgrown ruins. But you can take a deep breath and stop packing your survival bag. For now. To put it simply, our biology is a completely different universe compared to an ant. First of all, our body temperatures are way too high. Fungi generally prefer cool, damp environments, and our internal thermometer sitting at a cozy 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit is basically a blast furnace to them. Secondly, our nervous systems are far too complex. You can't hotwire a Ferrari with the same instructions you use to hotwire a tricycle. The evolutionary leap required for a fungus to go from manipulating the simple muscle fibers of an invertebrate to hijacking the trillion-neuron, highly advanced central nervous system of a human being would take millions of years of targeted evolution. The Last of Us scenario isn't happening tomorrow. You can buy your button mushrooms from the grocery store without fear of them plotting a coup. But hey, let's look at the bigger picture. Climate change is actively warming the planet. As global temperatures rise, fungi are facing an evolutionary ultimatum: adapt to higher heat or die. And guess what? They are adapting. Every single day, fungi are becoming more tolerant to warmer temperatures, slowly inching closer to the baseline temperature of the human body. So, while you're completely safe today, the next time you get a sudden, uncontrollable, random urge to leave your house, walk into the woods, climb up a tree, and bite down hard on a leaf. Maybe check the back of your neck. Stay curious, don't get infected, and make sure you keep your eyes on the forest floor.